Hello, Riker. Welcome back. I told you when I was telling you the story of Noah and the ark, I told you at the very end of that video that I left off a small section of the story. And that small section of the story I've been thinking about for the last few days, and I've been thinking about, okay, do I tell you the story or how do I tell you the story? And and I'm going to tell you the story, but I'm going to try and tell you what I think the story means as well. So at the end of the flood, Noah and his family, they land the ark, and they let all the animals out of the ark, and their family goes and they make an altar to God and they sacrifice a bunch of animals. If you remember that part of the story, then hey, you're caught up. But after all the animals leave and after they're done making their sacrifices and after the rainbow comes up in the sky, it says that Noah builds a vineyard, which means he's growing grapes. And he takes the grapes and he turns them into wine. And then Noah drinks the wine and he gets drunk. And he ends up being in his tent. And he's naked. It's really kind of hard to understand exactly what happens. But one of Noah's sons, Ham, comes into the tent and makes fun of him or laughs at his condition, laughs at the fact that he's drunk and he's made an error. Noah has made an error, and Ham is mocking his dad. So one of the things about this story that's so interesting is understanding some of the information that comes afterwards. So understanding chapter 10 and the breakdown of the lineage that comes afterwards, and even further, understanding some of the stories in Exodus and understanding who some of the enemies of Israel are. So what this story with Noah and his son Ham is telling us is it's telling us something about children needing to respect their parents. And later on in the Bible, God sends down a whole bunch of commandments to the Israelites. And one of those commandments is, children, honor your parents, for it will bring you long life. It's going to be good for you. It will be good for you to honor your parents. So here in the story of Noah making the vineyard and getting drunk on the grapes, and Ham comes in the tent and makes fun of his father, we're seeing a story about a child who doesn't honor his father. He doesn't honor his parents. And it's difficult for us to really understand the ramifications or the effect of that. When children grow up and they learn to dishonor their parents or they learn to make fun of their parents, God's trying to highlight how bad that is for the child, because that child will grow up and will teach their own children to dishonor them. And there's a way that when we're parents and we're trying to raise children, we often make mistakes. We often make really foolish errors, just like Noah makes by getting drunk and being naked in his tent. And Ham comes in and mocks his father. Now we hear that the other two brothers, Shem and Japheth, they come in and they try to be respectful. And they try to, hide their father's nakedness, and they try to minimize the situation. So Noah wakes up, he comes around after being drunk for a while, and he finds out that Ham made fun of him. And Noah curses Ham's children. So this part of the story is also a little bit difficult to understand, because we don't really get to understand if Noah cursing Ham's children is the reason why Ham's children end up becoming the main villains of this whole story, or if Ham mocking his father is what makes Ham's children become the main villains of the story. But whichever way about it, whichever way it is, Ham's children grow up to be the main antagonist focus for the Israelites. And when the Israelites eventually come out of Egypt and come into the promised land for the Israelites is filled with all of these descendants of Ham. And the Israelites end up having to wipe them out. So we're not that part of the story. The main focus of this chapter, or this small little story of Noah in the vineyard, I think part of the point of this story is to teach us it's really important to have children try to honor their parents. And you're going to have, I'm going to make silly mistakes. I'm going to make dumb mistakes. Your mom is going to make dumb mistakes. All parents are going to make bad mistakes with kids. And it's important for kids to try not to focus on or highlight those mistakes to the point of disrespecting and dishonoring the parent. So wherever you can in life, try to look at your parents and do what you can to honor them. Or even if they're making mistakes, try to consider that their mistakes might not be crimes. They might simply be mistakes. I know it's a hard thing to do. I struggled with it with my own parents. I had a really hard time looking at my parents and the mistakes that they made through their life and trying to wrestle with those mistakes. And, for me, for a long time, I chalked up, I looked at my parents' mistakes and I thought, well, they're crimes. They're things my parents did on purpose, or my parents were really foolish. So it took me a long time to wrestle with that. So while I'm saying try to honor your parents, I am acknowledging that it's difficult sometimes. So this is that small story at the end of the story of Noah, at the back end of Noah, Genesis chapter 9. I'll be talking about chapter 10 and 11 next time. God be with you.